We have the cash that people need. Sometimes people can't make ends meet, and we offer that to everybody.
But can you actually...
They got famous fighting on TV, but the real drama happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Les Gold lost $500,000 in a scam. His daughter Ashley quit the family business, and one cast member is now making $900,000 a year on OnlyFans. Now, 15 years after Hardcore Pawn first aired, the truth is finally coming out about the Gold family's secret feuds, fake scenes, and the other cast members. In 1998, a TV producer named Richard Dominic was watching The Jerry Springer Show when he saw a local commercial from Detroit. It featured a pawnbroker named Les Gold. Les had a sharp voice, a bold presence, and a kind of energy that stuck with you. Dominic didn't forget him, but nothing happened right away. It took more than 10 years before that quick TV moment turned into a real show. By 2009, True TV finally approved the idea. Les Gold would bring cameras into his pawn shop. His family didn't love the plan. They weren't sure about showing their lives and their customers on national television. Still, they moved forward. On August 16, 2010, Hardcore Pawn premiered. It brought in 2 million viewers on its first night. That made it the most watched debut in True TV history. The shop, American Jewelry and Loan, was already well known in Detroit. It first opened in 1978 in the Green 8 shopping center. In 1993, it moved to a massive 50,000 square foot location on 8 Mile Road. On most days, about 1,000 people walked through its doors. The show captured what really happened inside. Customers were angry. Arguments broke out. Security guards had to step in. Some people threatened violence. Others got dragged out yelling. All of it was caught on camera. Unlike Pawn Stars, which focused on rare items and calm deals, Hardcore Pawn showed real tension. Les Gold said it was honest. He believed the show gave people a true look at what the pawn business was like in a city where money was tight and emotions ran high. That approach worked. By June 2013, the show was pulling over 3 million viewers per episode. When season 6 ended, 3.4 million people watched the finale. That made it the biggest audience in True TV's history. It also became the #1 unscripted show on cable during its Tuesday time slot. But nothing lasts forever. By 2014, things started to change. Viewers weren't showing up the way they used to. During season 9, ratings kept falling. People began to feel like the show was no longer as real as it claimed. Some scenes looked staged. A critic from the New York Post even called out the show's authenticity. The Gold family denied everything. Still, the doubt stayed. Around the same time, Rich Pyle, one of the most familiar faces in the shop, left to host a new show called Meltdown on National Geographic. His departure added to the feeling that the show was starting to fall apart. Behind the scenes, True TV was already planning a major shift. In May 2013, Chris Lynn became the network's new president. He believed the channel had become too focused on conflict. He wanted something lighter. In April 2014, he announced a total rebrand. The new focus was on comedy. Impractical Jokers was already a hit and became the model for what the network wanted next. By October 2014, True TV launched a campaign called Way More Fun and temporarily rebranded itself as the new True TV. Serious reality shows didn't fit that plan. After the series ended, all of the cast members went different directions. In 2021, while many businesses were still struggling after the pandemic, Les Gold was expanding. He opened 3 new pawn shop locations in Southgate, Lincoln Park, and Hazel Park. This wasn't a sudden move. Back in 2019, Les had already said he wanted to grow beyond Detroit's 8-mile road. The plan was ready. The timing was perfect. Commercial real estate prices had dropped to the lowest point in decades. Property owners were eager to sign deals. The Southgate and Lincoln Park deals were the toughest. Negotiations dragged on for months. Les didn't send someone else to handle them. He stepped in himself and closed the deals face to face. With help from his son Seth, he used the family's TV fame to secure strong lease terms. Developers wanted well-known names to draw people in. Les gave them that. The new stores followed the same model as the original 50,000-square-foot Detroit shop. They focused on direct negotiation with customers. This was the same approach that made Hardcore Pawn a hit on True TV. Together, the stores brought in nearly 200 jobs across Wayne County. Years before that, in late 2016, Les made a surprise move. He appeared on the cooking show Chopped on Food Network. No one expected a pawnbroker to compete in a high-pressure cooking challenge. But Les had learned to cook as a kid in Detroit. His parents worked long hours at his grandfather's pawn shop, so he made meals on his own. He didn't just cook basic meals. His grandfather had taught him traditional Mediterranean recipes. Those stuck with him. On Chopped, Les used those skills to impress the judges. He treated the cooking challenge like a business deal. Quick thinking, clear choices, no panic. He didn't win, but he showed a completely different side of himself. In December 2022, Les hosted a charity auction inside the Detroit flagship store. The goal was to raise money for the Heat and Warmth Fund. The event was called Hardcore Thaw. In just 3 hours, he raised $40,000. He auctioned off 25 items donated by local celebrities and sports stars. One of the biggest wins was a signed Red Wings jersey that sold for $7,800. Les ran the auction like he runs his business. He used fast offers, direct pressure, and bold moves. Attendees said he controlled the room from start to finish. When the total hit $35,000, Les added the final $5,000 himself. No announcement, no spotlight, just action. He made it clear this wasn't just about money. It was about helping people through the cold Michigan winter. The bankruptcy rumor came from a 2018 story about a bad business deal. Les had lost $500,000 in a scam, but that didn't ruin him. By 2025, his net worth stayed steady at $5 million. The pawn shops were still open. His book, For What It's Worth, had reached number 4 on the New York Times bestseller list. When Seth Gold joined American Jewelry and Loan in 2009, he didn't just take a job in the family business. He came in with a different mindset. His father Les had run the shop for decades, but Seth saw something his father didn't. The business had no presence online. At a time when everything was going digital, that gap was a problem. Seth decided to fix it. He launched their first e-commerce platform. At the time, it was a risky move. Most pawn shops were still focused only on walk-in customers, but Seth believed in the idea. Over time, it paid off. Online sales grew fast. By 2018, the digital side of the business was bringing in 30% of total revenue. That shift didn't just bring in money, it changed how the store worked. The physical location was only open 9 hours a day. The online store never closed. That growth gave them momentum. They opened new locations in Hazel Park and Pontiac. The company was now on track for 20% annual growth. Their total revenue moved into the $5 to $10 million range. For a pawn shop in Detroit, that was a major leap. Seth didn't stop there. On July 17, 2013, he was named National Pawnbroker of the Year at the Pawn Expo in Las Vegas. It was the highest award in the industry. He had earned it through more than just sales. He had worked to change how people viewed pawn shops. He pushed for better media coverage, stronger community outreach, and modern business practices. The award was special for another reason, too. He had won it over his father. Les Gold was a legend in the industry, but Seth was now being recognized as the future. In 2014, Seth teamed up with Stephen Kogler to start something new. They called it Power to the Grid. It was a job program for people with autism. The goal was to match specific talents with real work. They opened a training center inside the pawn shop. People were hired based on what they could do, not just based on a resume. One of the first hires was Michael Sancherico. He had a degree from Western Michigan University and strong skills in photography and Photoshop, but he couldn't find steady work. Seth gave him a chance. Michael's work helped improve their online listings. That wasn't charity, it was smart business. Seth said it clearly. These employees weren't just doing good work, they were helping the company grow. In late 2018, Seth started planning something new, a second Detroit location. This one would be different. It would focus on luxury items like watches and high-end jewelry. The original store on 8 Mile mostly served unbanked customers. Seth wanted to reach a different market. He had studied the data. In their stores, silver and diamonds were now selling 3 times more than gold. The demand was clear. That same focus on modern tools led to another step in 2019. Seth launched Fast Pawn in partnership with PawnMate Inc. It was an online service that let customers renew loans or make payments without coming to the store. It made the process faster and easier. It also fit with Seth's bigger goal. He wanted to bring the pawn industry into the future without losing what made it work in the first place. Ashley Gold was part of Hardcore Pawn from the beginning. The show launched on August 16, 2010, and ran until April 6, 2015. Across 9 seasons and 162 episodes, Ashley worked side by side with her father Les and her brother Seth at American Jewelry and Loan. The shop sat inside a massive 150,000 square foot building on 8 Mile Road in Detroit. To viewers, it looked like a wild and fast-paced business filled with arguments and deals. But for Ashley, it became something else entirely. By 2015, she had hit a breaking point. Every day felt the same. She would wake up, put on the same black sweater, the same jeans, the same shoes, and go through the same routine. In an interview from 2016, she described it as her Groundhog Day moment. She realized her health was getting worse. Her family life was falling apart. And deep down, she wasn't happy anymore. There had always been tension between Ashley and Les. On the show, their arguments were constant. Behind the scenes, things were no better. Seth had his own ideas about marketing. Les stuck to tradition. Ashley was caught in the middle. On top of that, the cameras were always rolling. Every fight became part of the show. Over time, the stress built up. By early 2015, she knew she couldn't stay. Walking away wasn't easy. This was her family's business. But Ashley wanted more than to be known as Les Gold's daughter. She wanted a life of her own. Later that same year, in 2015, she launched Pawn Chick Shopping. It started online and focused on new jewelry she picked herself. She traveled across the country to find the latest styles. Her shop carried around 500 items at any time. Prices ranged from $15 costume jewelry to fine pieces worth up to $3,000. In interviews, she said people trusted her taste. She dressed celebrities. She built a customer base across the country. She made sure her store kept growing. In 2019, Ashley rebranded her business as ashleygold.com. That same year, she entered the Verge pitch competition run by the Detroit Garment Group and won. By then, she had already appeared on CNN, Fox News, HLN, Good Morning America, and The Today Show. She had turned her TV fame into something real. That March, she started a podcast called Pawn Chick Radio. Each week, she talked to guests about fashion and personal stories. But she also began to speak openly about hardcore pawn. She didn't go into every detail, but she confirmed what many people had guessed. Some of the scenes on the show were staged. In one episode, a guest named Big Daddy said he saw people being told what to say. Ashley explained how the producers pushed for conflict. They wanted arguments. Unlike Pawn Stars, which focused on history and value, Hardcore Pawn focused on drama. That made the show popular, but it also made the job harder. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, Ashley's life changed again. Schools shut down. Parents had to guide their kids through online classes. Ashley had 2 children. Back in 2017, they were 8 and 10. So by 2020, they were 13 and 15. She helped them with school from home while still running her business. She wasn't working 70 hours a week anymore. She wasn't filming constant episodes. Now she was helping with homework and driving the carpool. She had built a life that gave her time for her family. Rich Pyle spent 25 years working at American Jewelry and Loan in Detroit. He started when he was young and stayed loyal to the business as it grew. By 2012, he had become one of the most familiar faces on Hardcore Pawn. He had the spiked hair, the long goatee, and the confidence that made him stand out. But that same year, everything changed. What looked like a small argument on the show was actually the breaking point in a much bigger problem. An internal audit had raised serious concerns. It showed that Rich may have used company credit cards for personal spending. Some reports said he also inflated reimbursement claims. Seth Gold confronted him while the cameras were rolling. Rich didn't hold back. He said his years of loyalty should matter more than any mistake. He even claimed that he cared more about the business than Les's own kids, Seth and Ashley. That made the situation worse. Les told him to leave the store right then. Their 25-year friendship ended on camera in a few intense minutes. Rich came back the next morning. It was October 2012, and he was hoping for a second chance. He showed up early and looked shaken. He wanted to apologize and save his career. Seth tried to help by setting up a meeting. He told Les they needed Rich's knowledge and the way he connected with customers. But Les wouldn't change his mind. He pointed to the audit and said the shop couldn't take the risk. The meeting ended in under 20 minutes. Rich was gone from the business, and soon after, he was written out of the show. After leaving Detroit, he moved to Los Angeles. He tried running a gold business of his own, but it didn't last long. Then, in 2018, he made an unexpected move. He became the host of a show called Whole Nation, which followed the American Cornhole organization across the country. Rich brought the same energy from the pawn shop to the cornhole world. He ran the ACO Game Zone challenges and got people excited at events. His wife Tracy helped film the show, which gave it a small, family-run feel, just like the pawn shop had. Rich found a new audience and built a new name for himself in a sport most people had never seen on TV before. Over time, Rich started to talk about how things really worked behind the scenes on Hardcore Pawn. Without breaking his contract, he hinted that much of the drama was planned. He said producers looked for people outside the store and gave them scenes to act out. They would ask them to sign release forms and follow a script. One person from Detroit even said the producers kept the store understaffed on purpose, so customers would get angry. Some of the rare items shown on the show were also planted. Producers found them online and brought people in to make it look real. Rich admitted that real deals still happened, but by 2013 and 2014, Most of the big arguments were staged or recreated using actors. It was part of what kept the show popular, but it wasn't the full truth. Bobby Janiak didn't plan on becoming a reality TV personality. He just wanted a job. When he joined American Jewelry and Loan during the first season of Hardcore Pawn, he didn't know the shop was about to be featured on national television. Seth Gold had hired him for basic merchandise work, mostly to handle t-shirts. But the moment Bobby walked in, producers were already setting up cameras. From day one, he was stepping into something much bigger than retail. As filming picked up, so did Bobby's involvement. What started as background work slowly turned into regular screen time. He adapted quickly. His energy stood out. When Rich Pyle left the show, Bobby's presence filled the gap. Producers didn't waste time. They asked if he wanted to be featured more. He said yes. That decision changed the course of his career. Bobby stayed at the pawn shop until 2016, even after the cameras stopped rolling in 2015. But once he walked away, he didn't look back. He never returned to the shop again. Over time, Bobby began speaking out about what really happened behind the scenes. In interviews and across social media, he explained how the show valued drama over authenticity. The pawn shop was real, but the way it was presented often wasn't. According to Bobby, the producers knew what they wanted: conflict, tension, and bold personalities. Pay was minimal. Cast members like him helped bring in millions of viewers, but the financial rewards were uneven. The Gold family profited. The supporting cast did not. Bobby said that during contract talks, producers would use phrases like once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to avoid raising salaries. It was exposure over fairness. He also opened up about how cast members were expected to live their characters even when the cameras were off. That blurred line became exhausting. One of his viral TikTok videos even touched on the firing of Rich Pyle, suggesting that what happened off-camera was often more brutal than anything shown on TV. After quitting the pawn business, Bobby found something better. In 2017, he was approached by Bars Products, a major name in automotive maintenance. They wanted a spokesperson. Bobby's on-camera experience and natural charisma made him the perfect fit. The deal was worth $175,000 a year, more than double what he'd made at the pawn shop. He became the face of the brand, appearing at trade shows and starring in over 30 commercials. That partnership didn't just offer steady income, it gave him a platform. By 2019, he was using social media to promote the brand even further. His following grew fast, and the campaign worked. Bobby helped push Bars Products into more than 40,000 stores across the country. Things changed again in 2021. After doing voiceover work for Michigan radio stations, Bobby shifted in a direction no one expected. He launched an OnlyFans account that featured explicit content. Within 3 months, it had over 15,000 subscribers, paying nearly $30 a month. For many fans of Hardcore Pawn, the move felt like a betrayal. The backlash came quickly, especially on Facebook and Reddit. But Bobby didn't back down. He explained in a podcast interview that voiceover work wasn't paying the bills. Payments were inconsistent. Opportunities were limited. OnlyFans, on the other hand, offered both control and income. It was a business decision, one he stood by. Then came the legal trouble. In September 2023, Warner Brothers Discovery, True TV's parent company, sent Bobby a cease and desist letter. The document was 12 pages long. It accused him of using show footage and branding on his social media and personal website without permission. They listed 37 specific examples, including clips he used in a YouTube series where he analyzed old episodes. That series had pulled in over 500,000 views in just 3 months. Bobby had even used screenshots in promotional flyers for public speaking gigs where he charged up to $5,000 per appearance. Warner Brothers made it clear he had no ownership of the show's content. By November, Bobby had stripped every reference to hardcore porn from his online presence. In March 2012, everything changed at American Jewelry and Loan. Joel "Big Joe" Shannon had worked there for 3 years as head of security. He was trusted. Les Gold had hired him personally and even invited him to family gatherings. But then, hidden cameras caught him stealing. It didn't happen once. It happened over several weeks. Each time he took a small amount of scrap gold, just enough that no one would notice right away. But the total added up to around $7,000. The arrest was caught on camera during season 6. Police officers walked into the store during filming and arrested Shannon in front of Les. You can hear it in Les's voice when he says, "This is my loyal head of security that I trust." He couldn't believe it. The betrayal hit hard. Shannon was fired immediately and charged with felony theft. It was a public downfall, and it left a mark on the show. But Big Joe didn't disappear. He started over. In late 2016, he launched a company called High Gear Transportation in Livonia, Michigan. At first, it was just 2 trucks doing local deliveries. Over time, he grew it into a regional business. By 2023, the company had 15 trucks and served clients across the Midwest. Even after everything that happened, Shannon stayed connected to the Gold family in a small way. By 2019, Seth Gold began hiring High Gear for delivery jobs between store locations. The trust wasn't rebuilt overnight. It took nearly 3 years, but they made it work. Shannon now employs more than 20 people and has become a respected business owner in Livonia. What started as a scandal turned into a story of redemption. Then there was Fielding Teichman, also known as Felix. He was a fan favorite, calm during chaos, and always ready to step in. But in early 2015, he disappeared from the show without explanation. Behind the scenes, there was a contract dispute. During talks for Season 8, Felix asked for a raise. He wanted a bigger salary based on his growing role and popularity. The production company said no. Talks got tense. In February 2015, Teichman walked off set while filming. It created chaos for the crew. They had no plan to replace him that quickly. He later hired a lawyer to reopen negotiations, but the show had already moved on. New security staff had been brought in, and the producers weren't looking back. By 2016, Teichman had moved to Austin, Texas. He turned down interviews and avoided the spotlight. He wanted to leave that part of his life behind. And he did. These weren't just moments in a reality show. They were real people with real consequences. Behind the scripted tension and dramatic scenes, these stories showed what happened when things got too real to hide.